The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. We're getting closer to November 5th's election, the state election this year, and we're speaking to as many candidates between now and then, so you can make informed choices here in Fall River when you go to the polls. Here in Fall River, there is one state representative race that's actually contested, and there'll actually be a new state representative coming in January. It's the 8th Bristol District. In Fall River, that district only encompasses 3 precincts. Precincts 1A, 6A, and 6B. Incumbent Democrat Paul Schmidt is not seeking re-election. There are 5 candidates on the ballot this year, and I'm pleased to be joined by one of them, independent candidate Laura Hadley. Laura, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So a lot of people in Fall River may not know you, so just give us a little bit of background. Who's Laura Hadley?
Well, I was born and raised here. I graduated from Bishop Conley High School and went to UMass Amherst, attended law school on the West Coast before moving back to this area, and I've been here ever since and very excited about the opportunity to serve the community.
And you live in Westport now,
yes.
Right? First time running for office. Why running for office now, and why this race?
Well, it occurred to me that not everyone's voice is necessarily being represented, and it's critically important for our democracy to have our local representatives representing the people's interests to the state and not the other way around. There's very divided politics, and at the same time, we have an opportunity with both the infrastructure money that's coming down from the federal government and just the opportunity with the rail system coming in, both in New Bedford and Fall River. We can make decisions that are good for everyone, and I am quite confident that I will be able to do that for the people in this district.
So let me ask you, you're running as an independent.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do that? Have you ever been part of a political party, or?
Well, I decided to run as an independent because it really does depend on the issue. So certain issues I am much more aligned with, we'll say, a red hat, and other issues I'm much more aligned with the blue hats. And at the end of the day, we're all human, and so it's important that we focus on solving problems in a way that respects everyone's dignity and voice and everyone's best interests, regardless of what color hat.
You're an attorney, as you mentioned. You
Yes.
have a law degree. What experience do you bring there that you think will suit you well as a state representative?
Well, several issues that I've noticed come down to misalignment in policies. And if we can make adjustments to the policies to prevent problems, then that's always the best solution. For example, I learned that in the late 90s, the Department of Environmental Protection was defunded. And so just that slight adjustment to make sure that our Department of Environmental Protection is funded, not by fines and fees, but by the tax dollars at the state level, that can solve so many problems at the local level. And it doesn't shift the burden or the costs to our local communities, which is currently the situation.
The 8th Bristol District is pretty spread out, right? You've got those 3 precincts in Fall River, a few precincts in New Bedford, and then in between you've got the entire town of Westport, portions of Freetown, and portions of Acushnet. That's a pretty diverse community. You've got 2 gateway cities, and you've got the suburban and, if you want to say, rural areas of the district. How do you plan to balance that and try to meet the needs of that diversity?
Well, speaking with people and listening to and respecting each different respective community line of thought, shall we say. In Freetown, for example, it seems as though voters are quite concerned about increasing density. They like their rural, it's quite rural in many parts of Freetown, and voters there seem to like that. And So policies and decisions made by the state can and should reflect those needs. In other areas, say New Bedford, for example, they're concerned with this proposed recycling plant and making sure that their environment stays safe. It's more densely populated by far, and again, listening to what the voters and what the residents want and need, and then making decisions based on that is really key. And that's the only way our democracy works.
Right. Let me ask you, in terms of your fiscal philosophy, the state as were the cities and towns, were infused with federal money following COVID, the ARPA money that has been spent. That's pretty much been spent down. The state saw a big increase in revenue for the first few years after COVID. Now things seem to be leveling off. I guess in general, what's your philosophy in terms of government spending?
Well, focusing on making sure, again, that government spending benefits everyone is absolutely essential. Making sure that we support our small businesses and that we allow for an environment where people can start new businesses and grow them in emerging industries, for example, especially with the federal infrastructure money, making sure that we do it in a way that benefits everyone. For example, there's the Route 6 water and sewer project that voters voted down both at the polls and at the town meeting, and now it looks like it's being pushed forward anyway. The funding that was allocated was designed to remediate PFAS, so polyfluoroalkylates, the forever chemicals. PFAS can be taken out at the tap. That's indeed the best way. I'm also an operator in training, water treatment facility and distribution network operator, and that even within the treatment facilities, PFAS are a major issue, and it's very difficult at scale in those facilities to implement activated carbon filters and reverse osmosis filters, whereas if they're done at the tap, that helps everyone. So making sure that money is allocated in a way that helps everyone and doesn't disproportionately burden or benefit any one group is very important.
Now, in terms of education, cities like Fall River and New Bedford have gotten a lot of money for education in the past few years through the Student Opportunity Act. I think that's only a couple more years left for that infusion of money. The towns, some say they may not have gotten as much as they probably should have. What is your view in terms of how education should be funded, and if there's any policies that you'd like to see implemented from the statewide level? There's the ballot question about MCAS. If you want to comment on that, that's up to you. But what are your views on education, funding, and also policy?
Educating our youth and all of our residents is so important to our future. That is our future. And so as far as the funding goes, education needs to be funded as much as possible, and particularly a diverse range of educational opportunities. Not everyone's brain works the same way. So the trade schools seem to be a great opportunity for some folks who naturally gravitate towards those types of projects and don't necessarily like to sit in the library for hours on end reading a book. And so making sure that everyone's skill set can be highlighted, that they have the opportunities for training and development that makes the most sense for them is, I think, very, very important. Also, early childhood education is so key. There's the Thrive by 5 concept, and making preschools more affordable, Head Start programs. All of these programs are an investment in our future, and they absolutely need to take priority.
Yeah. You know, a big issue that everyone's been facing since the end of the pandemic has been the rise of inflation, cost of living, housing. Here in Fall River in particular, you know, rents continue to rise, some of it associated possibly with the train coming in and the investment opportunities involved. What can a state legislator do in your mind to help ease some of those burdens back home?
It appears as though one way to approach it would be to start at home and work outwards. So making sure that funding that's available can benefit our disabled veterans, our senior citizens, and those who may be struggling to keep a roof over their head. Making sure that that takes priority over, say, welcoming in anyone who wants to relocate to the United States. I understand that immigration is a major issue, and we need to make sure that our policies at the local and state level take care of the people here, especially those in our society that are struggling to get by. You know, the cost of living is rapidly increasing, and for many folks, they're on fixed incomes which haven't been keeping up with the pace of inflation. And so that's really something that I hope to address, particularly senior housing, disabled veteran housing, and providing opportunities for people to get back on their feet if they had something happen and they just need a little help to get back into a house and with food on the table.
Right. I mean, as an independent, if elected, you'll be working with, you know, two different parties, heavily Democrat, no doubt about it, here in Massachusetts. How do you feel your relationship will be with colleagues, not only those in Boston, but even like the delegation here in Fall River? You've got Senator Rodrigues from Westport, you got Representative Fiola, Representative Sylvia, all Democrats. Do you feel you'd be able to work on both sides of the aisle?
Absolutely. And that is part of the reason I decided to run as an independent, because it really does depend on the issue. And having a dialogue between both sides of the aisle is just so important. That's how we get really good solutions. There has to be the dialogue. We're all human. We really need to keep our common humanity central. And I'm very confident that I will be able to work with both the local reps and local governments and at the state level, again, regardless of what color hat the person I'm speaking with may be wearing.
You know, this 8th Bristol district seat has been considered, and I've used this a couple of occasions in my air quotes, a Westport seat, right? Because Westport's the only town, the full town is part of the district. You had, you know, obviously Representative Schmid, before him Senator Rodrigues. There have been other representatives for this district that have hailed from Westport. In this campaign, there's 4 of the 5 of you that reside in Westport. If Westport's the tipping point, how do you think that's going to work out in terms of votes? I mean, there's 4 of you fighting over, in essential, you know, obviously the whole district, but, you know, maybe more well-known within Westport.
Well, it seems as though it's clear that if we elect the other candidates from Westport, that we will get more of the same. There's this made-up infrastructure oversight committee that has neither infrastructure nor oversight, and 3 of the 5 people running are on that committee. We can't have deals done behind closed locked doors. We urgently need transparency at every level of government, and having, say, a transparency facilitator throughout the district would be hugely helpful. And if that's funded by the state, then that can really help our local public servants to ensure that they're complying with open meeting law requirements and public records requests, and that they have the support, the administrative support, to do so.
Yeah. We are just about out of time. I want to give you the opportunity, however, to speak to the voters of Fall River and those precincts 1A, 6A, and 6B on why they should consider Laura Hadley as their next state representative.
Thank you for your time, and I very much look forward to having the opportunity to represent your interests to the state. I will be available. I am here to help, and working together, we really can move forward into the next 100 years in a positive, collaborative direction. Thank you for your time, and I would very much appreciate your vote on November 5th.
Laura Hadley, independent candidate for the 8th Bristol District. Thank you for your time and all the best. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. Please make sure you vote on or before November 5th.